This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Madison County Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors joint meeting for April 1st. We can start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all. It looks like we do have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get going into the meeting. A reminder for all of those up on the panel to use your microphone, and for any general public or participant comments, please approach the mic, state your name and your location in the county, and make sure the microphone's on, please. All right, we need to adopt the agenda. I don't believe there were any edits from this morning's emails. Does anyone have a motion?
Second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. At this point, we'll go to general public comment. This isn't case-specific for tonight, but just general Madison County comment. Is anyone online? No one's online. Okay, seeing none, just a reminder on the cadence for tonight. We'll hear each one of the public cases, and then following the cases, the Planning Commission will have a conference and make a recommendation that will go to the Board of Supervisors. When we conclude our meeting, we'll actually adjourn, and it will go to the Board of Supervisors tonight. So if you are looking for public comment or you're a participant, please don't leave once the Planning Commission adjourns. Stay for the Board of Supervisors as well. Okay, new business. We do need to adopt the minutes from March 18th, 2026, and I know there were some email traffic on this earlier.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes, sir.
believe the addition that Mr. Smith had made has been included in the minutes.
In the minutes,
If
perfect.
that's correct, and so they are in there now.
Move we approve this minutes as submitted.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes as submitted. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And aye. Any opposed?
I will abstain. I wasn't present for the meeting.
All right, and Nathan Count has abstained from that vote, so all the others were in favor. All right, it looks like we'll go into the public hearings. We'll start with case number RZ-02-26-01, Bella Rain LLC. This is a rezoning. Jed Hochster, on behalf of Bella Rain LLC, has requested to rezone a portion of the parcel identified as Madison County Tax Map 56-5A on Shelby Road from A1 to A1R1 split zoned. The purpose of the rezoning is to allow future home sites on approximately 24 acres of this 67.70 acre parcel. Mr. Nickel, any updates or staff recommendation?
No changes since our last workshop, Mr. Chairman, just the front 24 acres of this property.
Any questions from the panel to Mr. Nichols on this one? Seeing none, would the applicant like to approach the mic and state anything? You may have some questions from some of the members.
Good evening again. I don't really have any new information other than what was shared in the last meeting. I've had a few discussions with Alan surrounding some of the state ordinances and codes surrounding building next to a transfer station. There aren't any that we're aware of, so I don't have anything other to share.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant before we go into public comment in the specific case? Seeing none. Okay, thank you. All right, at this point, there are several faces in the audience, so I'm assuming we're going to have some public comment. Again, if you have public comment on this one, please approach the mic, state your name and location, And then, if you can, keep them to comments, not questions, either back and forth, and we'll do our best to address them when we can.
My name is George Campbell. I live on Shelby Road in Rochelle, pretty much across the street from the property being discussed. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife Sharon Campbell, who has lived on Shelby Road since December of 1990. Our home is near the property being discussed tonight. I ask the board to deny this rezoning request. Shelby Road is a rural area made up of farms, forests, large properties, and a small number of homes that are spread out along the road. Many of these farms have been there for generations. The land being discussed tonight is currently zoned A1 agriculture, which is rural land use, and that fits the character of this area and the surrounding land. Madison County's comprehensive plan states that rural land should remain the county's primary land use, and that the county should protect its rural character and natural landscape. The county has also rules that limit how land can be divided over time, helping prevent large tracts from quickly turning into housing developments. Another concern is drainage and runoff. My property sits lower than this land, and water from that area already flows downhill towards our property during storms. Much of this land is currently wooded, and those woods help absorb rainwater and slow runoff. If the land is cleared for houses, roads, and driveways, that natural protection would be removed and runoff could increase for properties downhill like ours. This land was marketed for sale as a large wooded natural property with trails, wildlife habitat, and open space, a place for recreation, farming, and rural living that is consistent with its A1 agricultural zoning. It was not presented as land intended for residential development. Changing it to a residential subdivision would be a major shift from how this land has been used and valued, even as described as a small number of homes. This property is part of a much larger 233-acre tract that was marketed for sale and purchased as one property and later divided, with only a small portion now being presented for this proposal. That raises concern that this may not be a one-time project, but a beginning of future development over time. While there are some houses on Shelby Road, they are scattered and sit on large parcels. The properties closest to this land are several acres in size, and the immediate area reflects low-density land use. Over the past 20 years, there have been only 1 or 2 new homes built along Shelby Road. This property also sits across from the animal shelter and transfer station, which generate occasional service traffic, not the daily traffic that would come from multiple new homes. There are also large farm properties in this immediate area, some of them hundreds of acres in size. If this type of change is approved, similar requests could follow, and over time, what is now open farmland along Shelby Road could become multiple residential developments. Zoning exists to protect farmland and rural land that has been in place for decades. Changing it to residential simply because it is requested undermines that protection and gradually turns long-standing farm properties into residential developments over time. Many of us chose to live on Shelby Road because it is quiet rural character, open land, and farmland. I ask the board to preserve the rural character of Shelby Road and deny this rezoning request. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Thank you.
Additional comment?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Troy Shelton. I live at 4417 Shelby Road, directly adjacent to the property under consideration tonight. I'm here to formally voice my opinion to the proposed rezoning from agricultural to residential use. Madison County's greatest asset is its deliberateness, the way we've chosen to preserve our rural heritage while maintaining or managing growth. This proposal, however, represents a significant departure from that vision. It isn't just about the possible future residences there, it's about the integrity of our zoning map and the safety of our residents. I would like to outline several reasons why this application fails to meet the standards required for a zoning change. First, changing the zoning here would undermine the integrity of the county's previous zoning decisions and set a precedent for further sprawl in an area not designed to support it. Madison County has long been known and valued as a small farm community with open landscapes, agricultural parcels, and rural character that the people of this county have come to cherish and expect. Approving dense, tightly packed residential development in this location would erode that identity. It replaces the county's traditional agricultural aesthetic with suburban clustering that simply does not fit the character of a small town farming community. Once that rural charm is diluted, it cannot be restored, and the very qualities that make Madison County appealing, its open space, its quiet, its agricultural heritage, are permanently diminished. Second, perhaps most critically, Shelby Road is already burdened. The county landfill transfer station directly across from the proposed development generates heavy traffic from both citizens and commercial vehicles. This has created well-documented pattern of vehicle crashes in the area of Route 29 at the intersection of Shelby Road. The recent implementation of the new traffic pattern has mitigated this concern, but introducing new residential subdivision into an industrial traffic corridor is not just poor planning, but it could possibly be a safety hazard. Shelby Road was not designed to handle both a transfer station and daily commuter trips of a neighborhood this would generate in such close proximity. Approving this rezoning without thorough traffic impact analysis would be irresponsible and potentially dangerous to the area and neighborhood. Beyond traffic, the incompatibility between a landfill and a residential home is obvious. Transfer station brings noise, odor, dust, heavy equipment. Placing the families directly across from such a facility invites long-term complaints, conflicts, and potential liability for the county. No planning standards recommends placing residential zoning next to a transfer station. In fact, most explicitly discourage it. Finally, the public interest test is not here. The only clear beneficiary of the rezoning would be the property owner. The public, on the other hand, would bear the cost: increased traffic, possible increase in motor vehicle crashes, road wear, emergency response delays, environmental impacts, and long-term infrastructure obligations. A zoning change that creates public burdens for private gain should not be approved. In closing, we must ask ourselves, what does the community gain from this change? The land remains perfectly viable for its current agricultural use. No hardship has been proven. Instead, this rezoning would create a permanent public burden, straining our roads, increasing safety risks near a heavy use transfer station, and diluting the very rural character that defines Madison County. Zoning is a promise made to the citizens about their community, about how their community will grow. I ask the board to keep that promise and deny this request. Protect the integrity of Shelby Road and the agricultural heritage of our county. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Sheldon. Any additional public comment on this case? Public comment? Don't be bashful.
My name's Rodney Shelton, that was my son Troy. We live pretty much where they plan on doing all this at. My only concern is, I see up there we have unknown ownership on the little right-of-way in front there. That was owned by Harry Gibbs. I do know that because I built a house back there in 1999. He owns that little piece of unknown ownership up through there. It cost me approximately $1,100 to go 17 feet across that. That piece of land was originally with the A-frame on the opposite side of 662 there, which would kick his 2 entrances to his 9 lots. I'm assuming that's what he's still after, farther down toward the transfer station. which I would see that as more of a safety hazard, because that very, all your entrances would be together. Again, we just try to get a lot off my mom's property. And I was under the understanding you could only have 4 lots per right-of-way, per driveway. And I'm assuming he's trying to get 2 driveways come off the same piece of property, which I don't understand that either. But that's still a question, though, not just very many questions there, but there's a few things there that I know about that doesn't seem to be fair, what I had to do to get my right-of-way out. That's what he's proposing. But we do live right there on the side of there. And another thing is, we were not notified. I know Mr. Weaver owns a right-of-way down through there. I'm assuming since we weren't adjacent to the land, we weren't notified of the situation. So that's my only concern there. I would appreciate it if that would have been something mailed to us about that, or more reference to that. There's a cemetery out there he's gonna have to work around also. I've lived there all my life on Shelby Road. And there's a lot of changes he's proposing there that need to be looked into with a little more detail. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton.
Hi, my name is Helen Shelton Ward, and I'd just like to say that my mother owned the property that's to the left of that, right in front of my nephew Rodney Shelton and Troy's house. And like Rodney said, I would like to have been notified that this was all gonna take place, since we pretty much own the property right beside of it. And me and a couple of my siblings who are still alive own that. So I really think that proper notification was not sent out so that we could be prepared to do proper adjustments for this. So that's my say on it.
Thank you, Ms. Shelton. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, Mr. Nichols, do you want to address any of the comments that were projected toward?
I will answer any questions you ask me, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I guess on the notification, since we've had a couple that said they didn't get the notification, what is our procedure on that? Is it
Notices
adjacent
were
neighbors?
sent to the adjacent and adjoining property owners, which means next to the, touching the boundary lines or across the street. We did so in accordance with the state code. I have been looking as the members of the public have been speaking, and their properties are not adjacent or adjoining to the property, so they did not get an individual letter. I will make note that they are here tonight, so they did learn of the public hearing. We did advertise in the Piedmont Journal Recorder, as we always do, and it's on the county website.
If you'd like to make public comment, you still can.
The property, Sharon Campbell, 4390 Shelby. We can see the property outside our front window. So there's an A-frame next to us, and they're right across the street. They were the only one that got the notice. They called me and said, do you know what's happening with this property? Because it's like woods right out there. We can see it. So that's how we know. Just one neighbor got it. So, because we went and asked everybody. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Additionally, the easements were discussed, and that was discussed in the 2 planning commission meetings prior to this. Mr. Nichols, do you want to go over that, since it was
Well, my
specifically
apologies,
brought
Mr.
up?
Chairman, please ask me again.
The right-of-ways, the 4 entrances coming off of the right-of-way. It was
Subdivision ordinance states that up to 6 parcels may be serviced by a private right-of-way.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just for point of
Please.
clarity, because I think period of time matters. I believe that ordinance was amended probably within a year or 2 ago. So that is the current ordinance, that is correct. But for the audience and everyone up here's purpose, it used to be 4 on 1. So there was a change. It just depends on the time of when application was made.
Thank you, Mr. Weekly. And just wanted that in public record as well. Any other comment or discussion from?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Alan. Alan, can you explain to us a little bit about future right-of-ways, of what could this be cut again in so many pieces, or what could possibly happen to the rest of this property?
Of course. So what you have in front of you here is on the screen, is a portion of or a complete, let me look at the other one, it'll be easier to show. So this subdivision previously occurred within the past year. You had a single large parcel zoned agricultural. In Madison County, agriculturally zoned land can be divided 3 times every 10 years. It's called the 4 and 10 rule, but number 4 is the residue. So you can make 3 new lots every 10 years. What the applicant has done is subdivided one of those lots, which is the 67-acre parcel in front of us, now owned by Mr. Hostetler, our applicant. The applicant is a home builder and would like inventory to build homes on. He can subdivide an additional 2 lots, as small as 3 acres, right now if he chooses to. He would like additional inventory. To do so, he has applied to rezone. So by taking the 24 acres at the proposed line on the plat here and rezoning those to R1, the only limitations for the numbers of lots you can divide in the R1 zoning district is regulated by having access to public water and sewer. So you can do up to, I think it's 14 or 15 lots, 1.5 acres, without having access to public water and sewer. Of course, we're not doing 15. The gentleman has proposed up to 9 on this parcel. It's what works for him. But the rezoning request is so he can have additional inventory lots for building. But in the residential districts, there is no time limitation on the number of divisions. So hopefully that got around to answering your question.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any additional comment from the panel or questions? Seeing none, and we're through with public comment, would anyone like to make a motion or recommendation? No one's willing. Do we need further discussion on this one, or is it?
All right, I propose case number RZ-02-26-01, be approved as submitted.
Do we have a second? All right, Mr. Smith seconded that in case you didn't hear.
Mr. Chairman, before we vote,
Point of order, yep.
I want to say that this probably looks pretty good, but I'm concerned about what could happen here in the future.
Specifically, Pete, I'm guessing on the number of parcels, is that what your concern is?
Yeah, for the future.
Okay. Comment has been recorded. All right, a motion has been made and seconded to send case number RZ-02-26-01 to the Board of Supervisors for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
All right, we had 1 nay and the rest were ayes. All right, moving on, case number ZOA-02-26-02, a zoning ordinance amendment, special use for single-family residence in B1. The Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 8, does not allow a single-family detached residence in the B1 zoning district by right or by SUP. Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 14-7, allows for an application to be made for a use not provided for. Concurrent with the application below, the Planning Commission is considering amending the ordinance to allow this use by SUP. All right, who wants to, Mr. Nichols, I guess you want to unpackage this one for us before we get into probably some pretty good debate here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the applicant has applied for a use not provided for. So in other words, we do not allow by right or by special use permit currently a detached single-family dwelling in the business zoning district. So there are 2 steps for tonight's case, or it's 2 cases that we're running concurrently. The first one is the Planning Commission should discuss and recommend whether a detached single-family dwelling in the business zone district should be allowed by right, by special use permit, whether that property should be rezoned or whether that use should be denied in that district. So that's the first step here. So you should consider that use against the statement of intent of the business zoning district and make your recommendation. Should you recommend to the Board of Supervisors to adopt that use, a single-family detached dwelling, as a special permit use in the business district, let's say, then you should discuss whether this particular case is appropriate and if a special use permit should be issued, and make your recommendation accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. All right, then, from the panel, general discussion on what has been laid out and the amended text to be proposed. Pete, go ahead and say it. You want to.
Well, I gotta go ahead and say it. You know, I don't know the right answer to this about the rezoning, what it creates down the road, but I think what the guy wants to do here is not a bad thing at all. I think the little place that he wants to use for a resident there's nothing wrong with it. You won't even know it's there. You ride by it now, you can't tell it, you won't tell it then. But what do we have to do to change in the ordinance to where we don't deal with this a lot? That's my concern.
I would probably second that concern. This particular issue is no issue at all, right? Because obviously it's a wording issue. But to do that in a B1 existing, what would stop someone down the road, build in another location in a B1 zone, build another facility, another home or structure, and then 6 months later say it's an existing structure, do I want to approve that? That would be my concern, that we set in the precedence. I have no issue with this particular case at all, and I think we know that, but I'm not sure how we get down the road for the future, to be honest with you.
Thank you both. Since I pushed y'all, I'll go ahead and state my opinion on this as well. I'm not in favor of the zoning ordinance amendment, simply because we do have lots of discussion where we say that SUPs are being thrown about all over the county, and this, would kind of create that in addition to what precedent are we setting in the B1. This is a heart versus kind of a legality zoning paper case in my book, and my heart says, yeah, that let the applicant do what he or she wants to with the property, and it doesn't seem like a big deal. But then we do have ordinances for a reason, and while they can evolve and counties and zoning often does evolve, this one I think is a chicken before the egg, and that therefore I'm not in support of the zoning ordinance amendment portion, which I know will feed into the second part or the next case as well. So that's my input. Additional comments or?
Colin, I thought I read that the staff didn't support this. Could you tell us why?
Well, first of all, I want to say it has nothing to do with this individual proposal. I personally like the applicants very much. I think they're nice people. I think that this particular project does no harm. I don't see where it significantly changes the traffic or, let's say, any of the usual things that we look at. When we look at this from a policy consideration of when you designate areas of the county where you want to see residential growth, where you want to see industrial growth, where you want to promote business growth, we decide those within our comprehensive plan, and then by designating zoning districts. The purpose of this is to alleviate friction points between people's residences that may enjoy certain protections from businesses and industry, and those businesses and industries that need a place to operate where they don't have to provide those same protections. And so as a policy standpoint of allowing residences to go in the business district, even by special use permit, I do not know, I could not come up with a situation where you could tell somebody no, and then not create a situation where you've designated area in the county where you want to see businesses and industry go, and then when somebody goes to move there, you don't hear pushback from the neighbors saying, we live here and we want protections. And so I think it creates a conflict that the fact that we have zoning seeks to resolve.
I'll also make an additional note on this specific case. I know we're talking about case number 022602, zoning amendment. In the applicant's specific case, there is an apartment or space that could be converted to apartment above the main business, which is the language in the ordinance as it exists today. Because there is an option, it does impact kind of my feeling on this particular ordinance amendment change, so, for full disclosure. Any additional comment, Clay?
Yeah, I do think it should be by SUP. I agree with Pete that we use SUPs far too often, but it is a mechanism that gives the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors some determination between different sites and the applicable positive part that standalone, that single-family residence could be. We all talk about businesses that need additional revenue to come in. This is certainly a way to enable it. I think, Pete, I know I can remember at least one of these in a long time. Can't think of a whole heck of a lot of them. I don't think there's precedent at this point saying that we're going to start seeing this as a flood. I mentioned to Jim earlier before the meeting that I do think that we need to go down the path on mixed-use development. This is right on 29 for this site specific. It certainly is applicable. There are probably other places that are in some of the villages that are B1 that have residences above them as well, and should have residences above them. We all think about the last nickel here in Madison, certainly not governed by us, but by the town, which is much different. But there's another one that we should be promoting, and heck, if they can make something off unused space, then that brings a little bit of life and vibrancy to the town and the community.
So I guess, Clay, the thing we need to come up with is what kind of wording do we use to change the ordinance?
That's correct. Yes,
That's
sir.
the tough part.
That is, very much.
Well, and just changing the ordinance itself, I mean, we're changing an ordinance, so. Any,
Along the lines of what Clay is saying, the proposed amendment to create this special use permit is basically unlimited. It doesn't say anything about it says detached single-family dwelling. That could be in the future 5, 10, 15, who knows? There's no limits on it. So to start with, that needs to be significantly limited in some way. I mean, here we're talking about an already existing small building, which is hopefully being repurposed, but the way it's written right now in 8-2-12, there's no limitations on it whatsoever. That would leave that totally into the SUP process with no guidelines available for determining whether it's appropriate or not.
Jim?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In thinking about this for quite some time, as the property stands right now, it could use the apartment over the main building. And that was fairly common. That's the way commerce grew in Madison for years. I mean, there's so many retail establishments that had living spaces on the top floor. And I certainly understand Pete's concern of what could or would happen in the future. We haven't seen that. A great benefit, I think, to the county of having an owner occupying space on a business property is security. By having another person there, there's less likely you're going to get break-ins, or probably less likely you're going to get break-ins. That lessens the call on law enforcement. If we're concerned that people are going to be wholesale building private structures on B1 property, that's something that the the General Assembly was about to serve up on our plate. Fortunately, that bill passed, or it failed, was withdrawn, but I've got a feeling we're going to see it again. For our purposes here, the way I think we could skin this cat is that if we deal with properties that currently have the facilities, plumbing, and water in existence as of the date that this ordinance is amended. And that, I know everybody loves the word grandfather here, that locks in place buildings that could be then converted to use, so if you wanted to use the overhead of the main building as storage or for some other purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And Alan, just correct me if I'm wrong, and just so we're all on the same page. For this specific case tonight that has been advertised, it is this language that's in red that everyone can see above, right?
It is as you see it, Mr. Chairman. We did not discuss other limitations for this ordinance at the previous workshops. We talked about a single-family dwelling being permitted by a special use permit in the business district.
Mr. Jackson, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm having, I mean, we've been through this a couple times now. What would be and we have been done this through the workshops, what would be acceptable language to add this as a special use so that we can determine it on a case by case? Does it need to say at the end of it existing structures or current buildings that would use this date as a barometer to where we do this is applicable? I mean, we've been through it, and it is special use. I mean, it's added as 8.2-12, and that.
Yeah, Clay, that's kind of my thought is as long as the building exists and there is the infrastructure there for people to actually live there, the water and sewer, that I think that creates a criteria for us to be able to create the left and right limits of how we will judge on special use permits in the future. So putting in that language, I think, is really important. The building is already there, the sewer and the septic is there. Pete said last time, he's driven by like 10 times, and he could have already started this project without us even knowing. So hats off to the family for being honest. So I think that, yeah, if we need to put in the provision that we aren't talking about new construction, that we have existing homes or existing buildings already in place to convert to a living space, I think that would really help with the clarity and criteria for future special use permits.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, what would be acceptable language that doesn't change the intent or focus, so we have to re-advertise that would be acceptable?
I mean, there is not very much language in this as it stands, right?
Very
For
much.
proposed ordinance, so it's arguable that almost any change would turn into, what's a substantial change, right? So substantial change is actually also a legislative decision up to the board about whether or not they think it's a substantial change that requires re-advertising. I tend to be more conservative on these things just because I'd rather be able to protect these ordinances if it goes to court as opposed to, leaving it up to a judge. So if it was detached, single-family dwelling, what was the last suggestion with already existing water and?
Water, sewer, and a building.
Yep, or if it was detached, single-family dwelling in existing structures, which would be as of the date of the passage of the ordinance. So it would be, I mean, I would lean towards the side of this it's fine to do it, but I think it'd probably make sense to re-advertise it.
The existing building component seems to play. The sewer and water is out of our hands and governed by the health department. Any residence that is approved by the building department and just for general use is going to have to be approved by the health department as well. Is that incorrect?
That statement is correct.
There you go.
And enforced by the health department. I mean, that wouldn't be.
Very much.
Yeah, right.
Very much. Unless it's failing and the building inspector finds it, and then he's going to report it to the health department because that's who's got the governing body. If we added language to the end of this that said detached single-family dwelling before 4-126, would that be acceptable? Or time of passing?
I think that's the only way we can do this.
Let's do that.
I think if it had a date, you're exactly right, because what the determination was existing, right? Because if you went down the road and they built a structure, right, and then 6 months later, they applied, and they said, oh, well, this is existing. I think to your point, Clay, you made a good point, that if you do it to the code date, that would probably take care of that, and the existing would probably take care of that.
I guess litmus test for the county, how are y'all going? Are we doing an inventory of buildings before to understand if
Well,
it's an existing or?
I would like to add something else for your consideration before we go down this one path. Go ahead and look at the area regulations, the 8-3 that were there. Now think about a residential dwelling or even an existing building being used as a residence in the B1 parcel there. Typically, when we have private water and sewer in any district, your minimum size is 1.5 acres. So now you get your residences with no area regulations. There's no minimum site size. Look at your setback regulations. Let's say that you've got a row of business properties and you're okay, let's say with converting an existing building. If memory serves, there is no side setback in business-to-business districts. There are more complications at play here than simply, than the one case. And the one case, like I say, this case is fine. This building gets converted, it does not have issues. But the next one that sits 6 inches off the line from the neighboring property that's by somebody's driveway, the next property that sits way too close to 29 when they go to do an expansion. If you're going to allow residences in the B1 district, then there's a whole lot more work that needs to be done in the ordinances because it was not designed for this.
Let's just say because it does seem like everyone's championing this individual case, but for the few cases, it sounds like Clay and Pete say there aren't many cases out here probably in the future to come up. Are we thinking a workshop? Are we talking?
But isn't that the intent of the SUP?
One-off.
Is that if, just like Alan says, if the building, the structure that wants to be used as a single-family dwelling is 6 inches from the line and right on the corner where a track trail is going to hit, obviously we're going to say, this is an inappropriate place. That's the whole idea of the SUP, with individual criteria placed on each individual site. That's the perk of this, and we don't see it very much, and I don't see a whole lot of, I hope I'm wrong, and I see a ton of businesses pop up, and they all try to do this. It'd be good for Madison County. We can keep denying them, and we'll just keep the businesses. But it's just not the reality of where we live.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, there is precedent for the inclusion of an existing building in part of the SUP. If I remember correctly, in M1, there's a multi-use building, which can only be used in an existing building, and it doesn't allow any exterior changes on the building. So we do already have a ordinance which does require the language of the existing building, which would be a relatively minor addition to the statement. And that would forestall the possibility of somebody coming in and building more later.
Well, the thing you got with the existing is, if I lived there and you set a date where if it wasn't done before this date, you already know that building is there when you move there. So it's subject to be, someone live in it when they move there, and if we set this date where they can't build it later and then say it was here, I don't see a big issue with it because the people beside it is already gonna know it's there. And I think about riding around the county, looking around the county, I just don't see a lot of places where this could be a possibility.
Great.
Okay, well, again, on this case, right now, it's just the language, if we want to approve this language, which will then go into the SUP, we have to have the chicken come after the egg, and this is the egg. So if we're focused on the specific case number, the second one, or the third one for tonight, 26-02 SUP, am I correct in saying this? This is the egg in order to have the chicken for the next one, correct?
You need a recommendation for this one before you can proceed
Yes,
to the next
okay.
one.
Okay.
So right now, basically, we can either leave it as it is,
Mm-hmm.
or we can put it off and try to change the wording somewhat. If we leave it like it is, it becomes totally up to the SUP decision to control everything.
To control it in the future,
You ain't
which,
going anywhere with the SUP unless you approve this.
That's
Well,
correct.
I mean,
yeah, but we're saying for
That's
future
correct.
cases too. I mean, we're saying this would be the frontline defense if anyone's being,
It does.
it leaves the SUP
No,
as the-
if, that is the right comment, though, is that if we go about it tonight and don't attach the date, it puts the burden on us here. The other one that is a option, just to keep things rolling, would be to approve tonight and then task Alan to add this to our workshop for the next one, so we can add a date to it. I know that's kind of duplicating work already done, but it seems like there is some confusion tonight, and then also, we have a case that's right down the way, and it's not the exact right way to do it. We should have been talking about this previously in the workshops, but that's just not the way it works, so too bad. But it does put the direction on this, and it does give us recourse and the Board of Supervisors recourse to approve or not approve appropriate sites for this to be allowed.
and language, if this language is adopted tonight by the board as well, how does that work, Hannon? We as a governing body or recommending body would propose in the next workshop amendments to the amendment we just passed? Or would we
when you
go
say
to workshop?
Do you mean next workshop, or do you mean
The
next
planning
meeting?
commission workshop, yeah, would we,
So you want to do 2 ordinance amendments, is that what you're proposing?
I think we're going to scramble this egg and then come back and re-scramble it later
Why,
to get it, polish it down the road to include more language. Am I saying this right? Am
I mean,
representing us?
maybe the idea is you recommend tabling it and then re-advertising with like different options. I mean, maybe that's the best way to do it.
And then does that put the next case, SUP, on hold as well, and our applicant's not able to proceed?
So there is no SUP route unless this changes.
I mean, we can burn that bridge as we come to it, but I think we could probably talk to the applicant and say, hey, are you willing to have this continue on a parallel track with it? Or would you rather us make a decision tonight? But it all hinges, again, as Mr. Elliott said, on what we do on this first part.
Yeah. Clay, let's start with you. What's the feeling of this body? Do we want to? Oh, go to public comment first. Yeah.
Yeah, go.
I guess yeah.
Do it.
Okay. All right. All right. One, apologies for anyone who's listening to this and is lost. This is just how this works in government. On this discussion that we've had, which is amending text for the ordinance, which will allow for a detached single-family dwelling within B1 zoning, is there public comment on this specific ordinance amendment change from what y'all have heard? Anyone, or online as well? Well, yeah, I mean, you're public, you can, yeah, absolutely. This one will be public, not the applicant, so please,
We're
yeah.
not on that case. It's public.
Good evening, everybody. Evans Okerson, Aurora, Virginia. As it stands right now, in that 3.5-acre parcel, there are currently 3 businesses being operated, which is generating tax revenue as well as jobs for people. And one of the people would be my stepson, who works in IT for one of the companies and for the secondary company as well. I personally talked to the 2 neighbors behind me, face to face. They are not here tonight. They told me they didn't have a problem with it. My wife and I own the next lot adjacent to their lot, and we don't have a problem with it. So I just wanted to clear up that there are residences there. It is, I mean, you drive just past our driveway into the 27 Jack Shops Road. There are houses, and you go a little further, there's a little cutaway where there are more and more houses. So it's not like it's just a business and there are no other residences around. So I just wanted to bring that up, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other public comment on the zoning amendment text?
Can I ask Mr. Okerson a question?
Of course, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Okerson, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, I'm sorry if I'm not. You would rather something happen tonight in a positive direction on this, rather than going on a parallel course and coming back to another couple meetings, because you enjoy it?
Well, as much as I enjoy y'all's company, I would rather have it done tonight.
There you go.
But
Thank you.
All right, does the public comment sway our poll vote, or our straw poll go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and apologies, guys. I was not here at the last workshop meeting, so you probably covered some of this. I just have a few clarifying questions. So some things may have changed from when I first heard this, but I was kind of under the impression, and Mr. Nichols, I'll just direct this towards you, that the Jensens were looking to use that existing building partially for an apartment, plus there would be some work still being conducted within that building, possibly maybe on the IT support side or something like that, but it was an existing building, and it would be not 100% residential, but sort of a mixed use in that building. Is that
that is not
Not the
entirely
case.
my understanding.
okay?
And the way that the existing language reads for special uses would be, because if you were going to use a part of a building, it would be the main business structure.
Yep.
Is the way that that reads, and this is not the main business structure. So as we unpack that 6 ways from Sunday in preliminary development in our first workshop, this is where we landed.
Okay, yeah, and I do, remember some of the conversations we had in the first workshop on this. It seems like where we get into some issues with the area regulations, setback regulations, and all that is with essentially building a new detached single-family dwelling, which I'm strongly not in favor of adding that 8-2-12. But, rather, and I know we talked about this in that first meeting, but just simply modifying the 8-2-1 apartment house and existing structures only to basically take the house out and put apartment or apartments in an existing structure. And with that, combined with 8-2-2, it seems like it would cover.
I mean, in similar to what's similar but different, right?
Yep.
If you chose to recommend that ordinance amendment to allow the activity that way, that's appropriate, if you see it that way. And then we would re-advertise for the next public hearing, because we have to advertise the information that will be decided. We'd come back in May and then vote on that particular issue if the planning commission chose to go that direction.
Sure. Okay.
But another avenue, certainly.
And it's something we discussed. I just wasn't sure really, if you guys had, somebody
Yeah, I think that
been
one, but
strongly.
it was a miss from the last workshop, where it was, the general consensus was that the planning commission was generally okay with a single-family detached dwelling in the B1 district, so that's what we advertised.
Okay. I missed that part, and for the record, I'm opposed for a single-family detached dwelling in a business zone district parcel.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question, please?
Please, sir.
All of us are up here in the business to try to help people. That's what we're here for. And I'm just trying to think outside the box to what we could do to help this gentleman that is right there but not there. And I guess I asked Mr. Wright, Mr. Wright, if you can live upstairs over this in an apartment, so if a breezeway attached these two buildings, is that part of that building? I'm just trying to help the gentleman.
Sure, it's a good question. See if Mr. Nichols has an answer before I have.
Yes, it's one building, but it's a long way away.
How long would that breezeway be, by the way?
I don't know, it's not, that building's not very far from the building that he's got. I'm just looking for alternative, then we could do it as a special use permit.
I have a question on top of that, too. Mr. Okerson just said that there are 3 different businesses that are being run out of that property. And I know the one building is focused on one particular element of a business. And how do we define main business structure? Are we talking about the Mad Arts building, or are we talking about the shed sales building? So the language to me is a little bit mushy, a little bit vague in regards to main business structure when you have more than one business being run off of the property.
If I may chime into that one. The structure in question was built and permitted as an accessory structure. And so it is a storage building. But certainly in land use, you can do parallel concepts here.
Mr. Wright, before I comment, are y'all looking at the breezeway data right now? Are they, Clay?
No,
Okay,
the
they're not talking
breezeway
about-
is like building official,
Okay,
and
okay.
breezeways are very expensive.
Okay.
That's not
I couldn't
it's
tell
an
what-
interesting workaround, but not a very good
Couldn't tell
one.
what they're,
Good
then,
Lord.
it sounds like then, for the panel, we're at the point where we have to make this decision on if we're going to proceed with a recommendation as the text submitted, or if we wish to postpone this and deny and
Right.
change the text down the road. I think we're,
Let me clarify something with Alan. If I remember correctly, the reason that we couldn't just do this under 8-2-2 was simply because that existing building was not a dwelling. It has to have a change of use, and that means that our 8-2-2 as it exists can't be used. That, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's going to require a zoning text amendment of some sort to make
yeah,
this happen.
And 8-2-12 doesn't actually deal with what's happening here. If it did, if we just detach single-family dwelling, it's already covered in 8-2-2. The fact that it wasn't an existing single-family dwelling is the reason that we have this situation now.
So-
8-2-12 is, unless there's something else added to it, is unnecessary because detached single-family dwelling is already covered in 8-2-2. It's already there. This is not a single-family dwelling, it's an accessory dwelling, which is going to be converted. So if we're going to amend it somehow, we have to figure out a way to allow that to be done rather than just put a detached single-family dwelling, which already exists in the ordinance.
Okay.
I may be overthinking that, I frequently.
Well, but I think the fact that every single one of us has had pretty lengthy thoughts and discussion on this means we're personally speaking, my opinion, we're not there. And the case tonight is to recommend or deny this to the board, and I don't think we're in a position where we can recommend this as much as my heart hurts for the applicant, and as a fellow business person, you know, it's a thorn in the side. And Pete, like you said, we are here working for the public, and I agree, but I think in this case, we're looking out for all public, even in the future. And as much as it pains me, my personal recommendation, and I may even make the motion, I figured I will make the motion, is that we do not recommend this, and we need to postpone either come up with a workshop or find some other way to get this language correct so that the applicant can.
Is your motion to deny, or is your motion to table?
He can't make.
I can't make the motion, that's
No,
right.
your
that's right, you're right.
recommendation. Your recommendation.
My recommendation would be, what's fastest for the applicant? Now I'm going to use my heart, would it be to table and us to work out and advertise a new amendment?
Table's probably faster. And
We
what,
have
we
to
have
ask the
nine,
applicant if
we have
we
90
table.
or 120 days to work off a table.
Yeah, I don't think.
I think it's,
If we
Now, the
table it,
next
we
one-
will not
90, if not longer, and he doesn't pay another fee.
If we table it. If
deny it, he'd have to reapply.
What?
If we table, will you have to reapply and pay?
No,
Okay.
no. We have to act within at least,
90
90
days.
is the minimum,
90
and
days.
maybe 120. But it does put a timeline on us if we and the board table it.
My personal recommendation would be to table. Do we, now, getting into the next case, I know this, do we need to involve the applicant on the next case to ask if he is willing to table, or does that, can we table that as well?
I'd start with asking.
Okay. Mr. Oberson, would you approach the mic again? Sorry. As you can tell, there's quite a bit of discussion on this one, and it just seems that we're not getting our Ts crossed and our Is dotted in a way that's probably safest for you and for future public use. My recommendation, I believe, look from a straw poll, would be that we would table this zoning ordinance amendment, which is separate from your SUP, but now that we know that the chicken and egg, we'd have to have this amended text in order for you to proceed with the SUP as proposed. Would you, as an applicant, be willing to suspend with us?
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Okay.
We want it done correctly, and we're long-term Madison residents, hopefully, so if it's gonna take another month, hopefully. If it's gonna take another month to get it done right, and so there's no other problems, that's fine.
And I'll just jump, I don't know the exact timing. I know we have to get it within 90 days, but I don't, can,
So
60 day, would it be
What will probably
two?
really happen is that this will be a workshop item, if it's tabled. This will be a workshop item in April, where everything should be ironed out.
Yeah.
And you all decide what text you would like to advertise, while considering all the remaining elements of the business district and any changes that may need to happen should you choose to adopt this use. Within beginning of May, we would advertise for a June public hearing is what will likely happen unless you decide sooner what language you want to advertise. But I suspect with some of the things that you're running up against by putting this kind of a use in the business district, you have more items to unpack.
So what are our dates? Is June?
First
week
in
of,
June,
yeah.
I'd say would be ideal, but we won't know until you have been satisfied with what it is that you want to advertise.
So not holding me to it, I would estimate 60 days at the earliest, 2 months.
Okay, sir.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Nick.
Mr. Wright, can I make a motion to move to table both of these cases in one motion?
I would do it one at a time.
One at a time. I would, any other discussion? I'll move to table case number ZOA-02-26-26-02.
Second.
And we did have public comment earlier, so we're good to that? Okay. All right, motion has been made and seconded to table case number ZOA-02-26-02. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. Mr. Wright, do we need to go through the formal process public comment for the next case as well, just since it's here on the?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Moving on, case number SUP-02-26-02, Janine Jensen, use not provided for. Alan, do you want me to read this, or since we've just gone through this, do we need to? Mr. Wright, do I need to read it formally, or?
Just read it. It'll be.
Okay. All right, we'll do it. All right, Evans Hokerson, on behalf of property owner Janine Jensen, has applied for a special use permit for a use not provided for to convert a building that is currently being used as business office into a residence on property identified as Madison County Tax Map 55-24 and further identified as 27 Jack Shops Road. The subject parcel is 3.567 acres GIS and is zoned B1. The Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 8, does not allow a single-family detached residence in the B1 zoning districts by right or SUP. Mr. Oaks, I'll give you one more. We're good to table, correct? You don't even have to get up, just head nod.
Basically, my position is still the same. I think this is a good thing for the county. And if it's not, long, we're not talking, 6 months away. I think if
hands are tied, so,
Well, thank you, sir.
thank you.
All right, is there public comment on this SUP specific case from anybody? Anyone online? Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that case number SUP-02-26-02 be tabled.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded for the case number SUP-02-26-02 be tabled. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? And the chairman voted aye on both those two, in case they didn't catch it, Hannon. All right. For upcoming workshop, again, this information is printed for y'all's consumption. We won't go through those anymore, but give a quick moment for discussion or comment from any of the members here. All right, seeing none. All right, is there other general public comment, not specific to any of the cases? Any general public comment? All right. Mr. Nichols, anything else from staff? Hannon, are we good so far?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn and move to the, motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, seeing none. Have at it, Cardi.
Very well, then I will call the Madison County Board of Supervisors to order. First, let me say that we have a quorum with all members present. First item is the adoption of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda?
I think we need to ask Mr. Wright. I'm sorry, I do not want to jump ahead of a supervisor. Mr. Jewett, I apologize.
Go ahead, Mr. Jewett.
No, by all means, jump ahead of me and behind me and everything.
Initially, staff had asked for the personnel item to be put on this agenda. However, the board called a special meeting on Monday for other budget purposes. We took advantage to add that to that agenda. So, Mr. Chairman, staff recommends you remove that closed session item from this agenda.
Very well. All right.
Now, my question is gonna be to Mr. Wright. If we or can we not consider B and C, even though they've been tabled by the planning commission? Because that'll determine if this agenda needs to be amended.
I think with the ordinance amendment, at least, you need to have the recommendation of the planning commission before you can act on it. Unless they don't act within 100 days by statute, then it can go straight to you. I'm looking to see in the bylaws, for some reason I'm remembering 90 days, but I know by statute, it's, if they don't act within 100 days, then it does go to you all. But I think you have to have the recommendation of the planning commission for an ordinance amendment.
Okay, following along that though, could we still comment on the proposed ordinance?
I think you can comment on the proposal. Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wright.
Very well, because my understanding, the Board of Supervisors generally has the final authority, so I'm willing to let this be tabled, but I'm quite disappointed, needless to say. All right, very well then, we will comment on cases B and C when it gets to that point.
Okay, well then, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the agenda as amended to exclude official consideration of case B and C, however, reserving the right to have a discussion and also removing the closed session.
Second.
Well, we have a motion to amend the agenda as stated, and we have a second. Any further discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, opposed nay. All right, motion carries. All right, have a general public comment that's not connected to any of the cases. Is there any general public comment? What you got back there, Kim? Not interested in talking to us. All right, very well, we'll close public comment.
And I'm sorry, if I could just
Sure.
go back to that, Mr. Yao. It's 18-1-3 of the zoning ordinance. It's 90 days, and it says the Board of Supervisors shall take action, but only after a recommendation made by the planning commission. So I think the board can't act tonight, as I said, and it's 90 days as the clock is now ticking on the planning commission.
All right. wish they had not left. Okay, so the protocol for the public hearings is that I will read the case. I'll go to our zoning administrator. The board will have the opportunity to ask the zoning administrator any questions. Then we will go to the applicant and ask for any questions or comments from them. Then we'll go to the public, and then we'll come back to the board for further discussion or a motion. And as stated before, cases under B and C, we will just simply discuss a little bit. So, case number RZ-02-26-01, Bella Rain LLC rezoning. Jet Hochstetler, on behalf of Bella Rain LLC, has requested to rezone a portion of the parcel identified as Madison County Tax Map 56-5A on Shelby Road from A1 to A1/R1 split zoned. The purpose of the rezoning is to allow future home sites on approximately 24 acres of this 67.7 acre parcel. Anything further, Mr. Nichols?
Only if you have questions for me, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Questions from the board to Mr. Nichols?
I want.
Okay.
Mr. Nichols, just for clarification, based upon all of the rules and regulations, what is the effective maximum number of houses that could be put on there?
Just on this parcel on the whole?
Just on the parcel that's being up for rezoning?
Assuming you got one on, you're gonna be regulated by the availability of public water and sewer on this one. So the most you could get is either 14 or 15 by the regulation here. I've got to reread it, but definitely no more than 15.
Okay, and that's including any setback requirements or road? I mean, is that gonna factor in and reduce that number?
The road will likely reduce it. Topography will likely reduce it. The presence of the cemetery will likely to reduce it. The applicant believes they can get 9 homes in there.
Okay,
maximum.
thank you.
Okay, very well. Any further questions for Mr. Nichols?
I have none.
All right. Good. Okay, to the applicant, Mr. Hochstetler, anything from the board for Mr. Hochstetler?
No.
Okay. You got anything further to add? Okay, very good. All right, then we'll go to the public. Is there any further public comment on this? Yes, sir?
George Campbell, I live 45-degree angle to this proposed property.
Mm-hmm.
Something that wasn't discussed was the electricity availability coming into those properties across proposed properties. It would put an extra strain on the lines, which are already strained as it is, and we constantly have outages in our area. The wind blows and our electricity goes out. So I don't know if a new what is it called? Like another little power plant needs to be put in. Because and also, just because that 67 has been set aside, you still have another, 100 and 200 and 180 left that could also be subdivided, and then in future time, more houses come in, which put more electrical strain. That's all that I know wasn't discussed, so I thought I'd bring that up.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anything further from the public? All right, very well. Then we will end public comment. Back to the board for further discussion.
You can have comments whenever, but I can defer to my colleagues.
Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I may, I might ask for Mr. Nichols' help on this. I'm sorry for the side conversation, because I was asking, because the question came, how many lots? I think someone just asked. And I think that's going to determine what type of road services this property. You talked earlier about six lots on a private road. So if you're not going public, if you have 2 roads, assuming you have the frontage and all to do that, you can squeeze more in there, but that would be a factor on the lots.
Right.
So it's not just the lot size per the zoning district, which R1 is 1.5 acres for private well and septic, but it's also a limiting factor based on the road that it's served by.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. All right, this is an interesting case because it's really connected to one we heard in the fall. And I think it carries some of the same implications. And then I'm also going to address where the state law might be going and how that may affect this. First of all, yes, this is farmland, but over time, the land is going to end up at the highest and best use. If that weren't the case, all those housing, all those lots there, they wouldn't exist. Malvern wouldn't exist, Happy Hills wouldn't exist, Fox Ridge would not exist. So this is an issue of, over time, you're gonna see some of this land, and my understanding is they're not even farming this section, is that correct? Okay, so that's one thing to think about. Now this gentleman, this is what he does for a living. This is something that would be phased in over several years. He's not a large-scale developer like we are trying to fend off right now in other areas of the county. And I think that this is the way that we want our housing inventory to increase. Now, let me jump to the next issue. For those folks who are not following what's happening in the General Assembly, there were several bills this year that didn't make it out, but they're going to come back next year, that are going to require localities to set a 7.5% increase growth housing target over a 5-year period. And if the locality doesn't do that, then the state will come in and override all your zoning rules. So here's what could happen. The rest of that farmland that you see there, if we're not allowing this intentional, gradual, incremental growth in housing, and we fall below those targets, we could have a developer come in and buy all that farmland and could come to us and say, okay, I want this to be R3 now because, I want to put in 300 houses. And we say, oh, no, we don't want you to do that. They're going to go to the state board, and the state board can come in there and say, oh, you're going to put 400 houses in there. So I think we need to think into the future about our housing policy in this county. We don't want to turn in Culpeper. I know I'm always ragging on Culpeper. I like Culpeper, but we don't want to do that. We don't want to have these massive housing developments come in here. So what will happen is that I think that this is a reasonable best use for this land, not only for the owner, but also for the community. And of course, if I lived next door, honestly, I shouldn't say this, but I wouldn't really want to live next to this landfill anyway, but I mean, you're there. So those are my comments on it. I think we need to look again at the overall body politic and what's good for everybody in the county, both now and long term, with regard to our housing inventory and our housing policy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Who else? Got something, Nancy?
Well, I do, and as
Okay.
far as Jet Hostetler goes, I don't know what kind of work Jet does, but I do know the kind of work that his grandfather did, and I also know the kind of work that his uncle Lamar has done because they personally have worked on my farm and done additions and finished out different things. So my point in saying that is these aren't gonna be just little tract homes, I'm assuming, that all look the same. They are gonna be good designs, they're gonna be attractive houses, they're gonna be great homes for our people in Madison, and you know what? We need it. And I just say thank you.
Who else? Anybody else?
Yeah, just a small comment, and I do, Jim spoke more for what I would want to say. Nothing against Nancy, but I do appreciate what you said. But I would also like to say, while it's on my mind about what the Shelton said about not getting notified, we had discussions earlier about putting up some kind of public notice signs, and I would really like to see us move forward with that, so that way, if there's a little right-of-way that takes away property ownership, that they don't get notified, that maybe we can try to work on that. I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and we have tried it, and we've put the signs out, and they either, get a 12 gauge through the middle of them, or they get pulled up. People that don't agree with it, they disappear. So, but yeah, we can try it again. We should have a budget for it, though, I tell you.
We'll have money.
And
How many have we lost, Alan?
In my tenure, at least 12, and we don't do that many of these.
Right, but, yeah, it would be nice.
And if I may, just
Uh-huh.
for all the board members, this is a rezoning, so considerations, of course, should be, how does it fit within the surrounding area and the comprehensive plan?
Sure.
So just a reminder on that
Right.
for everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's-
Mr. Wright. I was just addressing the public comment.
Oh, that wasn't pointed at the sign thing. I think that's a separate good issue.
Yeah, so, yeah, my comments went around that is Dun Glory is a development right there on the corner as soon as you turn down Shelby Road. That was, I can't even remember how long that's been in there, but, and also the Route 29 corridor study, which is part of our comprehensive plan, designates a mile on either side of 29 as being, would be considered favorably by the Board of Supervisors or by Madison County staff, Board of Supervisors, for businesses. And you've already seen that young man that has, we approved a permit for, what was it, automobile painting?
There's an SUP, they're actually still working towards a
Right, right.
paint auto
For-
repair shop.
Yeah, on that. So I can see, businesses and residential, down there. So you got a mile on either side that Madison would look favorably upon development overall. I mean, not specifically, not just rubber stamp, anything comes in there, but that's what's in the comprehensive plan. As far as traffic, I don't see where that's too much. So Alan, I've been in a couple meetings where the VDOT guy, what's the daily traffic you usually associate with the residents? Is it?
About, I think it's 9.96 trips per day is their,
Trips per
is
day,
their
yeah.
formula, yes.
Yeah, I knew that was a number. So I don't consider that overwhelming. We've already talked about the lots on a private drive. Let's see. I had one other thing in here. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, entrances would be a hazard. I don't really believe that would, what good would it be? What are we to gain by this? I think that was the question. What is Madison to gain by this? Well, we need housing terribly. There's so much housing in Madison County now that's set up as short-term rentals, that it's people to be able to buy a house or rent a house is nearly impossible. So for all those reasons, I mean, I'm in favor of this rezone. Further discussion or motion from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation that we approve case number RZ-02-26-01.
I'll second.
And that,
A
Mr.
motion.
I'm sorry to,
He's-
I'm not
he's
picking on you,
flashing.
Mr. Snyder, but instead of a recommendation, motion to approve, just to clarify.
Motion to approve.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve case number RZ-02-26-01. Is there any further discussion? Nothing other than Mike was flashing back to the planning commission days. Any further discussion? Very well. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Opposed, nay. All right, motion carries. We move on to case number ZOA-02-26-02. It's been tabled by the planning commission, but we'll certainly entertain some discussion at this point. You want to go first?
I'll be glad to go first.
All right.
Okay, this is, sitting here listening to the arguments, one thing crossed my mind with this exemption that's been proposed, or the modification. Exactly how many B1 parcels are located in this county that have existing structures that could fall under that? Does anybody know? Because I don't. So how can we make a major policy change if we don't even know how many parcels we're talking about? So that's the first issue that struck me with this. The other one's a much bigger picture. If we're going to allow residential in business districts, we don't have zoning anymore. The business districts are designed to be business districts. Okay, going back to what's happening at the state level, SB 454, which died in committee this year, it'll be back because its powerful senator was a patron of it. That's a bill that will allow by right multifamily housing on B1 land. So if we're arguing against that law, which we have been, Mr. Smith and I have been arguing at that General Assembly, how can we argue against that when we say, well, we'll let housing on B1? Here's the other issue, and I'm thinking of this because of my devious, hateful mind. I'm going to survey all these properties along 29 that are zone B1 and have an existing structure. Now, let's say I've got lots of money and little sense, or maybe lots of money and pretty sharp. I'm going to go buy those properties. This zoning amendment, it changes to where you can have one detached, however you're going to do it. I'm going to buy those properties up, and I'm going to come to this planning commission and this board, and I'm going to say, I want an SUP to establish single-family housing on all those parcels. And the board's going to say, no, wait a minute, that's not what we intended. And then I'm going to sue the county because that decision is arbitrary, capricious, and discriminatory. So we need to be really, really, really careful by not opening this Pandora's box. And that's what worries me about doing this. Not only immediate ramifications, but possibility of what may change at the state level. So that's my opinion on this proposal.
The text amendment.
Yes, the text amendment.
Who else? You got anything?
I feel so badly for the people here that have gone through probably 3 sessions now, and we're still up here doing a workshop, trying to figure this out, which I know we're trying to do what's right for the county and going forward and doing so this doesn't happen again. But I'm all about property rights, always have been. And it frustrates me when the government throws blocks in the way for people to do what they want to do. In Jefferson's inaugural address, he said, a wise and frugal government which shall restrain men from injuring one another, shall then otherwise leave them to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvements. We just stopped an improvement for another 60 days for somebody who wants to do something with his own property. It's an existing building. It's not going to happen all over the county. I don't believe that. So I just think this was a big waste of time tonight, and they were very gracious. I wouldn't be so gracious. That's just my opinion.
Nancy?
Okay, I guess what I read with all the 50-some pages that we had to read, and why I came up with the answer that I did is because I didn't see it just 1 time or 2 times, but I saw it 3 times in there. The proposal does not align with comprehensive plan strategy of directing residential development toward designated residential growth areas. Next, Planning Commission, it may undermine the long-term planning objectives for economic development along the Route 29 corridor. And the next is the proposed use is not appropriate within the B1 zoning district and does not support the county's long-term land use and economic development policies. Accordingly, staff recommended denial of the adoption of a single-family dwelling as a special permit use in business general B-1 zoning district. And so I saw that 3 times in the paperwork we were given to read, and so that made me think we were advanced in this decision.
Okay.
Well stated.
Mike?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to say that I was, from the first meeting at PDRC, I like the idea, personally. I like the idea of someone being able to have an existing spot for someone to come in and have their kid come in that is part of their business. He stated several times that, you know, he
did IT work for the business, so he was part of it. Ms. Gore brought up a really nice fact that, you know, that there are multiple businesses in those particular things there that I think probably would have fit. I think one of the other situations I thought of, what about if we had a storage unit and somebody wanted to have a caretaker, and wanted to come in and say, I want someone to be here for emergency cases, let people in and out. And I just thought that would be another example of having somebody, a caretaker such, being and living in a B1. And that was just about one of the examples that I thought about. I'd left all my other notes, but I really feel bad about what happened, and I really wish that would have gone through. And I really don't like the idea of putting a detached single family up. That opens that up too much. I hope it gets worded a different way if that's what happens.
Okay, so, yeah, so this was a tough one, but the staff's analysis showed that while this particular case would create a minimal impact, the request is, one, inconsistent with the core purpose of B1 zoning district. Two, does not align with the comprehensive plan long-term goals for the Route 29 corridor. And three, could create some compatibility issues down the road, like noise, traffic, industrial activity, all conditions that are normal and expected in a commercial corridor. But now you're gonna have somebody living next door, is like, they're creating noise, they're creating dust, et cetera, et cetera. So approving a primary residential use in a commercial district would set a precedent that weakens the county's ability to preserve business zone land for economic development. I would like to see it preserved for economic development, okay? Something's gonna return more than a real estate tax. And for these reasons, the request is not appropriate within the B1 district, and I support staff's recommendation for denial. Now, I wish the applicants had not left because I appreciate their intentions and the fact that this is going to have very limited impact in this particular case. But our responsibility as a board and a county is to uphold the integrity of the zoning ordinance and the long-term vision of the comp plan. That's all I got to say about that. So, anything further? All right, we'll move on then. So the SUP is a non-issue. Well, unless we want to talk about if the planning commission recommends SUP, I don't know what our vote would be on that. So I guess there's really nowhere to go with this one.
Right, I think we just don't even touch it at this point.
That's right. So we'll move on to old business. There is none, no new business, information, correspondence. Anybody got anything? All right, back to public comment, just general public comment on anything. Nothing? All right, very well, we'll close public comment. We have no closed session as was described at the beginning of the meeting, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.